What if pain didn't exist in your world? Imagine breaking a bone, stepping on a nail, or touching a flame, and feeling nothing. For Jacob, pain was just a concept, not a reality. And at first, his parents thought he was some kind of superhero. But they quickly learned his power was as dangerous as it was baffling. Doctors couldn't explain it. Theories ranged from psychological trauma to rare nerve disorders. And while Jacob carried on with his carefree childhood, his body was racking up injuries that could have killed him. And here's the twist. Jacob's condition wasn't unique. Across the world, other children were living this same dangerous reality, with stories as jaw-dropping as his. By the end of this video, we'll uncover what made Jacob and these other kids so different. But first, let's start at the beginning.
Mom, Jacob's hurt.
Jacob's journey began when he was 3 years old. It was a sunny summer afternoon, and he was playing outside with his older brother, Ben. Suddenly, his mother heard Ben screaming, "Mom, Jacob's hurt!" She sprinted to the backyard to find Jacob standing barefoot on a rusty nail that had gone straight through his foot. But here's the thing. Jacob wasn't crying. In fact, he seemed more annoyed at his brother for tattling. His mother rushed him inside, cleaned the wound, and bandaged it. But she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. At this stage, his parents assumed shock. After all, kids can sometimes freeze up when they're scared. But if that were the case, things should have gone back to normal. Instead, over the next year, Jacob's parents started noticing more strange incidents. Jacob's lack of pain wasn't limited to the backyard. At the playground, he'd fall off the monkey bars, scrape his knees, and jump right back up as if nothing had happened. Other kids would run to the teacher in tears over tiny cuts. But Jacob, he acted like nothing could hurt him. One day, his teacher called his parents to report a disturbing incident. Jacob had collided with another boy during a game of tag, slamming face first into a metal pole. Blood gushed from his nose, but he just laughed it off. "That was awesome!" he shouted, already chasing after the next kid. Jacob's parents, like most of us, chose B at first. But when Jacob started getting infections from unnoticed cuts and burns, they realized something was very wrong. Jacob's story might sound unique, but he's not alone. Across the world, children with similar conditions have baffled doctors and terrified their families. Take Elena, a 6-year-old from Spain. One day, she climbed onto her family's stovetop to grab a cookie jar, accidentally resting her hand on the hot burner. Her parents didn't realize what had happened until they smelled burnt flesh. Elena had no idea she'd been injured. Or consider Ryan, a boy in Canada who would chew his lips until they bled, completely unaware of the damage he was causing. His parents had to make him wear padded gloves at night to stop him from harming himself in his sleep. Then there's Amara in India. She broke her arm while playing cricket but didn't notice until her teacher spotted the unnatural angle. By the time she reached the hospital, the injury had worsened to a dangerous infection. For these children, pain wasn't a nuisance. It was a warning system they didn't have, and the consequences could be life-threatening. The most likely answer is C, a genetic mutation. But Jacob's doctors weren't there yet. They were still sifting through possibilities. When Jacob's parents finally brought him to a neurologist, the doctor was intrigued and alarmed. Tests revealed that Jacob could feel touch and pressure, but not pain. He could sense when something was sharp, but it didn't hurt him. The neurologist considered several possibilities. Could it be psychogenic pain inhibition, where trauma or mental health issues block pain signals? That didn't fit. Jacob was a happy, energetic kid. What about a nerve disorder like peripheral neuropathy, which damages the nerves and disrupts sensation? But that usually comes with other symptoms, like muscle weakness, which Jacob didn't have. Or could it be a rare condition called hereditary sensory autonomic neuropathy, HSAN, which affects the body's ability to feel pain and temperature? HSAN seemed like the best fit, but more tests were needed to confirm. While doctors searched for answers, Jacob continued to push the limits of his pain-free world. One summer, he fell off his bike, scraping a chunk of skin off his elbow. He didn't tell anyone, and the wound became severely infected. By the time his parents noticed, the infection had spread dangerously close to his bloodstream. Jacob ended up in the hospital for weeks. At school, some kids were fascinated by Jacob's superpower. Others were freaked out. One boy dared him to stick his hand in a bucket of ice water for 5 minutes. Jacob did it, laughing the whole time. But later, his hand swelled up from frostbite. The answer is C. Pain-free children often require constant monitoring, daily inspections for unnoticed injuries, and strict rules to prevent dangerous behavior. Finally, after months of tests and consultations, Jacob's doctors pinpointed the cause: a mutation in the SCN9A gene. This gene plays a crucial role in transmitting pain signals to the brain. In Jacob's case, it was malfunctioning, completely silencing his ability to feel pain. The condition was called congenital insensitivity to pain, or CIP. It's so rare that only a few hundred cases have ever been documented worldwide. For Jacob's parents, the diagnosis was a double-edged sword. They finally had answers, but no cure. As Jacob's family adjusted to their new reality, they found themselves part of a small, scattered community of CIP families. They heard stories that were equal parts fascinating and horrifying. One girl in the UK had to have her teeth removed because she chewed her tongue so severely. A boy in Japan jumped off a roof to see if he could fly, breaking both legs but feeling no pain. And another child in Brazil developed severe burns after falling asleep next to a radiator. It's tempting to choose A, but Jacob's story shows us that pain isn't just a burden. It's a gift that keeps us safe. Today, Jacob's life is a careful, balancing act. He wears protective gear during sports and checks his body for injuries every night. His parents have to be hypervigilant, looking for signs of infection or unseen damage. Despite the challenges, Jacob has found ways to adapt. He's learned to treat his body like a delicate machine, relying on sight and touch instead of pain to signal when something's wrong. Jacob's condition might be rare, but his story highlights something universal: the power and purpose of pain. Without it, we're vulnerable in ways we can't even imagine. So the next time you stub your toe or burn your finger, take a moment to appreciate the pain. It's not your enemy, it's your greatest ally. Could someone you know have this condition without realizing it? And what would you do if you lived in a world without pain?